Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here for another Tuesday edition of Oilers Live. We got a special guest tonight, Mr. Reid Wilkins from Inside Sports and 630 Ched. And then, of course, associate host or whatever we're calling him this week, Mr. Dash in the Park. I've called him a lot of bad names, Reid, so I think that one will be all right. That one's okay for evening radio.
I still don't know the difference all the time between an assistant coach and an associate coach. I think an associate coach is higher ranking. I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going for sure. Yeah,
best friend, you get to be an associate coach. If you're some guy who's been hired,
he's got it nailed, buddy. That's what I was going for. Reid, checks in the mail, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I need it.
He's short episode. It's been a short. Hey, it was great talking to you, Reid. And anyway, have a great night.
I made my money. Let's go. I'm out.
Take your money and out, and you're off.
Pin that.
Reid, welcome to the show.
Okay, well, several things. First of all, I think I have four things in mind, if I remember all of them. I had no idea what I'm doing here. My phone says it's 31 degrees, 9 p.m. on the waning days of summer here in Edmonton. This would have been a great night to buzz over to the Odd Company patio and help shut it down with a couple of pints. But no, not me. Hockey podcast. Well, I know you'll talk other hockey, non-hockey stuff too. But yes, hockey podcast with a guy. I don't know what time it is where you are, Mike, like 4 a.m. I don't even know how your schedule operates. I don't even want to know. You're like part zombie, part Oilers super fan, which is one of the most bizarre combinations ever. So, but I am here.
Nailed it.
Thank you for having me. You have very nice graphics. You have better graphics. That intro was good. That's better graphics than we had at the TV station I worked at in Lloydminster. It was just like a dog with a cardboard sandwich board. It was like news hour starts now. So the very, very nice graphics. And I got to say that song, who wrote and composed that song?
Like, you know, that song has been getting a lot of talk lately. It's
now a little bubble, but how do I get rid of this little thing of myself that came up on the side?
You should have saw Dustin Nielsen air guitaring to that thing last week, Reid.
Yeah, what is this? Is this supposed to be there? Can people see this? There's like two of me, and that's one of me on video is disturbing enough. Okay,
I know.
Come on. That's good.
They can only see one of you.
Okay, good. So is what I'm seeing what's going over the internet?
Apparently not.
That's what people are seeing. What do people see?
They see me in the top left, then
that's what I see.
Right, and you on the
okay,
bottom.
that's the image I'm getting. The other thing is, now I'm really curious about this because I was embarrassed to find out just a few weeks ago that I didn't know this. I knew because I get along quite well with Bagged Milk from Oilers Nation, and I'm aware that OEG aren't big fans of Oilers Nation, and I know there's been these shutdowns of the Twitter and Instagram accounts. I don't know if OEG is always behind that, but I think there's been some discomfort there between the two organizations.
Could be.
And I knew there was an issue with them being called Oilers Nation, but for some reason, me with my journalistic instincts never bothered to ask Bag Milk more about it. Probably because we're often talking socially more than we are business-wise. So someone told me that they get away with it because they made Oilers Nation one word. And apparently that is what you have done as well. So it's either Oilerslive, Oilerslive, or Oilerslive, which sounds oddly Latin or something like that. Where's the Oilerslive? Bring it down from the mountain. We must have it's like an oil extract or something. Like I'm thinking like an olive oil type. Bring me the Oilerslive for my salad.
Why does my stomach hurt already?
Those are the 4 things on my mind. I really now have nothing else to say, so I will respond to your prompts.
Prompts as they may.
I'm pretty much done. I'm pretty much done. I've got nothing left.
If Hebert had planned this properly, you could have been on my deck. We could have been having a beer and just had a portable studio out there, Reid.
Yeah.
Sherwood Park, a very curious little community. Are all the streets named after trees? Is that true?
Just in the area called the Trees.
Oh, okay.
There's also an area called the Birds, and we live in the Seas.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I was confused tonight on my show because a guy texted in, and our studio operator, Kellen, read the text. And I think, obviously, I don't text our own station, but I think people can put in a permanent handle so they don't have to sign their name every time. So I think he wrote in Mike in Sherwood Park, and then it said in Sherwood Park. So I think so. Then Kellen and I were confused. Is there a park in Sherwood Park called Sherwood?
Sherwood Forest, Sherwood Heights.
Those are neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Not a park. Yeah.
Lacking
Park
some
had a
trees.
park.
But
Anyway, so it's a very birdy. So there's a tree neighborhood, a bird neighborhood, and a seed neighborhood.
Yeah, well, C, like the letter C. So everything starts.
The
with
letter
C.
C. I thought you said seeds, like the birds were planting the seeds that made the trees.
And I was
grow.
thinking seas like lakes and oceans, and
hence why it's a peculiar town.
Live on Atlantic Ocean Avenue in Sherwood Park.
Well, I mean, St. Albert, every neighborhood starts with the same letter.
They have
same here. Yeah.
So they have St. Albert, interesting community. I should say I go to St. Albert. Not frequently, every so often to go to the Mission Fun and Games, the big board game store. That takes me to St. Albert. But a few years ago, a colleague was doing a remote in St. Albert at one of those dream homes. They were having an open house, and then they'd sell the raffle tickets for her or whatever. And she says, yada yada yada, and come check out the dream home at 80 Periwinkle Drive. And I texted her. I said, that is the most St. Albert street name ever. Periwinkle Drive. Yeah, they probably have like Cinderella Street and all that kind of stuff.
Parlez-vous français? Yeah.
Now, I haven't been to St. Albert for a couple of years. Every time I come to Edmonton, I've got no reason to go out there. I had some friends who grew up there, but
they got a street and an arena named after you.
There is a street named after me. There's Hebert Street, just as you get into St. Albert.
Or Hebert Street, as we call it.
Street, yeah.
Hebert, yeah. We butcher it as much as we can on purpose. Yeah. Absolutely.
In fact, I think it's Hebert Road.
I think it's Herbert, actually.
No, you're done. You're done. Oh man, like this
reminds me of like when a Western Canadian junior team gets a player with a French name, and it's like the coach is never going to say it right. Like there was this kid that played for the Lloyd Blazers he wasn't from Quebec or French, but his ancestry was his name was like Belarjon or something like that. And he was always Belarjon to the coach then he just becomes, Bales or Baylor or something
Belly
like that.
or Belsey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh shit. This is my funnest show ever.
Well, this is a record for the quickest the show's gone off the rails.
And longest.
Let's go. Now there's a comments thing. Do I have to type in there?
Oh, no. Again.
It'll start filling up, I'm sure.
Write my memoirs as I'm doing the show. I remember going on a podcast with the two gentlemen. That's my memoir writing voice.
Sherwood Park Live. I like that. It also sounds a little bit like Low Tide imitating McCurdy. from a few weeks ago, to be honest. So maybe there's some similarities there. Do you have a McCurdy impression you want to throw at us? Or
I don't have a no. I'm not going to do a McCurdy impression. Bruce is a very nice man. I don't see him often. I saw him at the what's that thing they had in the summer development camp. Yeah, he was there, but I didn't get to talk to him. But Bruce is a very nice man. Yeah, and oddly enough, I have never met Low Tide in person.
Come on,
we've texted a bit, but
didn't you just
well,
have
my journey through the Edmonton sports world was different than a lot of people, so I've actually never met Low Tide in person that I can remember.
Yeah, I've never met him
twice, but I also bought 12 books from his signing, so
nice.
I thought that deserved a bit of a
When's
conversation.
When's your book coming out, Reid?
That's a good question. That is a goal of mine, to write a book. I don't know what I would write it about. I don't know if I'd write about my life, because I don't know if my life is that interesting. Like, something would have to happen where that was more interesting than my life and career, and then I would use that as a segue. It's like, well, okay, I don't even know what I would do. Like, I won a bunch of money playing roulette. Like, I invented the perfect roulette system.
Radio
so
Wars.
That would be like 6 chapters, and then it's like, Reid, you need 14 more chapters. So I'd be like, okay, here's a chapter on Lloydminster. Here's a chapter on the Allen Cup. We can put all this in. But all people want to read about is like, this guy invented an infallible roulette system or something. I don't know.
yeah. Done on chapter 4, and we're out of here.
Yeah.
Hey, we're off the rails already. What's the best Allen Cup game or series you ever saw?
I want to hear about this.
I don't feel like this is off the rails. First of all, I feel like this is pretty normal.
It's a little hockey show
for how I am, but
it also is Oilerslive. So
yeah.
Yes.
Oilers.
One of the weirdest things I've ever seen happened my first week in Lloydminster. No, it would have been my first week. It would have been my first month, because I started in March of 2000, and the Border Kings hosted the Allen Cup in April of 2000. And the team from Quebec, it was still a 4-team tournament. They've gone to 6, the last for a while now, but at that time it was still 4 teams. And the team representing Quebec, I think Quebec / the Merit, anyway, was called the St. George Garaga. And if you're thinking, that sounds like garage, that's exactly what it was. They were sponsored by a garage door company, and their logo was like tire tracks leading into a garage. It was sort of stylized, but you'd look at it and be like, okay. So in one of the games, and this is one of those moments, and I wonder if I saw this today, I would still be as stunned as I was then. I probably would be, because I've never seen something like this since. You certainly wouldn't see it in the NHL. I can't remember who they were playing. It wasn't Lloydminster, but the opposing defenseman had the puck, and the referee was here, and the forechecking forward for the Garaga went full steam, and then full on body checked the referee and launched him into the boards. And it was one of those where you're like, wait a minute, like, that wasn't an accidental, the guy moved at the last minute and he clipped the ref, or the ref thought he was going left and he went right. It's like he body checked the referee. And I'm kind of sitting there like, what is going on? And then the Garaga, so I got to go down and do interviews after the game. And it's like, can we talk to that guy? No, we have one person that speaks English, and it's the assistant coach. So he just kind of, I don't even remember, but the guy got kicked out of the tournament. Like,
was that Weidman by chance?
It was.
Or what?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, good call. No, it was. I guess that's a good comparable. I forgot about that. So that was like the first month of my career. I saw a guy hit the ref. The Allen Cup. I mean, I have a lot of Allen Cup stories, probably more than you would like. So it was in Lloyd in 2000. It was in Lloyd in 2005, which was the Theo Fleury.
I was at that game in Red Deer. They moved the game to Red Deer.
Yeah, when they qualified to beat Bentley, now Lacombe. And then in 2007, I did play-by-play for the Allen Cup in Stoney. I was still in Lloyd. That was actually the last big thing I did in Lloyd. But certainly seeing Horse Lake That would go in the book,
Yeah.
for sure. And that I have it. I moved recently and I found the tape of I
Oh.
made a whole bunch of tapes of our coverage, which included a 9-minute post game. So Horse Lake is supposed to win. They won 7-2 and 9-2 their first two games. They get a bye into the semi, and they're playing Thunder Bay. And I remember Rob Tichkowski and Jim Matheson were out to the tournament. We didn't know each other at the time. And I remember Titch saying it's going to be 3-0 10 minutes into the game. And it was for Thunder Bay. I think BJ Boxma was the Horse Lake goalie, and he crapped the bed. Horse Lake got rattled. The crowd was against Horse Lake because they were kind of playing the role of the villain.
Yeah.
And still one of the greatest games I've ever seen. 7-5 Thunder Bay wins. Their captain got a length of the ice empty netter to seal it. And then the media stuff was in a little trailer. And what was really cool, the guy who hired me, Greg Buchanan, and then eventually left the station, was the GM of the Border Kings. So he knew how much media would be out there. So he actually got a little, one of those Atco type trailers for the media availabilities. And then the tournament ends. So Thunder Bay's out. So it's like me, my camera guy, a radio guy from Grand Prairie, Jim Matheson, and Rob Tichkowski. And we're like, well, they're not going to give us any of the big names because they're so sour. Theo Fleury and Sasha Lakovic walk in. It was 4 questions in 9.5 minutes. They were just bouncing off each other. That's where the line came from. Once again, Theo Fleury saves hockey. That's where that line came from, and blaming the refs and calling the fans racists and all this. It's one of those where some things when you look back on them, you're like, oh, that was kind of surreal. But in the moment, I knew this is surreal. I am going to remember this.
Have you had a follow-up interview with Fleury ever?
Not about that. No, not about that.
But you've had him on since?
Yeah, he was in Studio 99 several years ago.
Yeah.
He's been on Inside Sports a couple times, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to go down that road. And I think I never wound up reading his book. I just felt kind of I didn't want to, even though he has an interesting story. I did see the play that is about him.
Yeah.
When I guess he wrote it, right? Or wrote it with somebody.
Yeah.
So I did see that, but I know that also that time in his life, he's obviously had several tough times in his life, but I think he was having some issues then. So I kind of don't feel like I don't know if it's something he would want to reflect humorously on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
no, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that makes sense.
And plus, he wouldn't place oh yeah, you were there. I was the Lloydminster. He knew Matheson and Tichkowski because he kind of went back and forth with them a little bit. But I don't think he would have even recollected that I was in the room at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you want to swap some stories off the air, I was a really good friend with one of the players that played for Bentley. So I had a little bit of an inside in.
Nice.
And I was on the bus of Horse Lake after the Thunder's bus after the game. So I was literally sitting at a table with Gino Ojic for a
good.
bit. So that's
incredible.
There's some nothing I would tell on the air, but it was.
No, I understand. I understand.
That 2005 Allen Cup was unbelievable.
It was
crazy.
Yeah. It turned out to be pretty.
It was just chaotic
and the final game. Montmagny led Thunder Bay 3-1 with 10 minutes left, and Thunder Bay scored a goal and then scored with the goalie out and won in overtime.
Run.
And nobody talks about that because
Yeah.
Theo Fleury and Horse Lake was there. But it was one of the most epic comebacks in a championship game you'll ever see.
But let's be honest. I mean, senior hockey doesn't get enough talk as it is. I mean, you've watched Allen Cup a number of times, obviously,
it's
and it's
unbelievable
good hockey. It's great hockey.
When it gets down to the the provincial playdowns, it certainly ramps up. I mean, Lloyd often played in a league where they weren't going to be challenged, but then Minnestickwin had their run as a challenger. I mean, the Regina
St. Albert had
Rangers
three of
good.
the Smith brothers. That's pretty good.
Yeah, somebody tried to kill Ryan, I think, in one of the games. That's the problem. Sometimes that happens in those games. There was an Allen Cup this year. I don't remember who won. Yeah,
it was televised too this year. I watched it.
As it should be. That's good.
Yeah. No, I mean it. I think it came into the forefront that year when the lockout was happening. in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well,
Or
like Gene
it a
was
strike
like
or a
Gene came
lockout? I
out
don't
for
even
it, and it
Mhm.
got coverage for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, and people who watched hockey or kept up with hockey and knew the Allen Cup, but I think it really sort of came to the forefront that year because obviously some players went there. I mean, that was a neat, as far as was it a lockout or a strike? I don't even remember anymore.
I
Lockout.
think it was technically a
Lockout in
lockout.
05.
Yeah.
Lockout. But as far as like hockey goes, I mean, guys went, around the world to play, including, the couple guys like Biz Nasty went to the UK and played in the Elite League
Yeah.
there. And
Well,
a
there was
couple guys played
speculation
there.
that Wade Redden would play for the Lloyd team, right? Because he's from Hillmond, which is just
Yeah.
outside of Lloyd, and his brother
Right,
was
right.
on the team. So I just
Was
don't
that the
know.
year he was in the AHL?
No, that was
'Cause
still
Ottawa
before
sent
that.
him
It
down
was
for a
still
year.
or
Oh,
405. It was he was
All right.
yeah. I think it was the Rangers that sent him down after he went to New York. I think he played for the Wolfpack for a couple of years late in his career, but
Right.
yeah, it would have been. I mean, I know Fleury was in it, and it just for the NHL guys to go in a tournament like that, it's almost a can't win, right? If you go out and dominate,
Mhm.
well, you're supposed to dominate, and if you turn the puck over to a 35-year-old gym teacher, then how can you
Yeah.
possibly ever make a mistake, right? So
Did you now?
Yeah.
I've only seen a couple clips, but McDavid playing beer league hockey. I mean that.
I don't even know how. I was a little surprised, and I think it was while I was off here, so I made an effort not to engage too much with things on my phone. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I guess they want to stay in shape and skate, but how you'd have to. I mean, clearly he would have to tone it down
He did.
because
I
it
mean,
wouldn't
the
even
team
be
that
a,
he was
it
on.
wouldn't even be a challenge, right?
They lost 7-5 and he was -2, I think.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Like if you watch, he was stand up skating the whole time and looked pretty relaxed.
Wasn't it just a BioSteel thing? Like I kind of like, cameras
I
don't
don't
just
think so.
accidentally show up at those things, do they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Evander Kane played, right? I played some NHLers played in Calgary when I was playing hockey out there in the summer. They'd come out and play.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, guys do it. They just get a couple skates in and do that. I mean, difference being is it's McDavid. I mean, we're not talking
course.
like a $750,000 a year contract or anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. Jay says, Reid and Rob complete Oilers hockey games perfectly. Obviously, a friend of yours. Always enjoy the show. Always enjoy the show from Thunder Bay. So there we go. A little bit of a
Reed,
tie
is that
back.
Rob you do the games with, or is that Fred? Because I think I've heard Fred call in after Elks games.
Well, we have a few regular callers. One of them is
Right.
Fred.
Fred, yeah. His voice sounded familiar. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, thanks for listening from Thunder. It has been pretty cool over the years to see how many people listen from outside of Alberta. Like it's a reminder of how huge the Oilers are. We get when they beat Calgary, I think it was after game 4 because it was kind of like they're going to win the series. Like it's pretty much a no doubter at this point. So it was already kind of fans were relaxed a little bit, and we got a couple calls from Australia.
Nice.
And Rob and I started talking about the international support, and then we got, I think somebody called from Switzerland. I think somebody called maybe from somewhere in Asia, and a couple more people called from Australia. So it is pretty neat, and it is neat that they tune into Ched, right? I mean, like for me, like I'm really proud to work for Ched. When I was a kid, I listened to it. That's when I started listening to Duran Duran and Bryan Adams and Bruce Springsteen and Tina Turner and Van Halen and all the songs that were big in '83 and '84, on my
don't know any of
radio.
those guys.
So yeah, some
Yeah,
listeners
right.
probably don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, so it's just neat that it, now with the online community that people find it to listen to the games. It's kind of cool. It's an honor to
sure.
connect with those people.
We're just a little so-so podcast, and we've even got a couple of guys from Australia and Mexico and guy from LA that tunes in all the time. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's what's neat, right? And that's I mean, when people are interested in something, they usually will go anywhere to get whatever they can, right? Now
We're banking on it.
In some way, I think so. Sometimes people, and it's really awful what happened to 1260, and I hope the new projects that the guys are launching go really well. But
too.
like it's if you want Oilers stuff or sports stuff, like you're not just going to go to one place, right? If there's a big story or you want different personalities or different guests, then you want a variety. So like I think the podcasts like this one are great. Like I think it's feed the content, like talk about stuff, connect with people. I mean that's what it's all about. And like it's good to have still talking. Like I know there are challenges in radio for sure. We've seen challenges with TV and sports departments and stuff, but I still think the spoken word is where it's at. People talking to each other. I mean, there's so much. I'm going on a tangent here, but so there's so much bullshit on Twitter, and everything is boiled down to 100 words of hatred. And if I think all these people who get into these written arguments, if they just actually sat and talked to each other, they'd find more in common than more apart.
For sure.
The flip side to that, just to continue I mean, if you would have told me when I was like 13 years old that there would have been 5 TSNs, I would have been like NHL for sure. CFL,
RSN.
NFL for sure, but like the AJHL is going to be on TV. Like there's going to be 5 WHL games on a week. U Sports is going to have a bunch of games.
ESPN, the Ocho.
Yeah, exactly. But the sad part of that is you look at the TSN guide, and it's an NHL game. The same NHL game on the second channel, a replay of a World Junior game, maybe an NBA game, and then the same NHL game on TSN. So it's good. People can get more of the best leagues, but it's kind of I don't think it shone the light on amateur sport or lower level pro sport as much as I would have thought if you would have told me that 30 years ago, that there would be all these channels, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of just like, well, here's more of the headlines, right?
When satellite first, the big dishes, you could, zero in on whatever NCAA, game, talking about ESPN, the Ocho, like if it was dodgeball or whatever, you could, you could find a game for everything, but you had to wait 10 minutes till the dish changed direction. Just
That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you said the Allen Cup was on. I mean, WNBA's on. Obviously, you can watch different. I just would have thought there would have been certainly more. I would have thought there would have been more U Sports hockey, more because even the CHL, I feel like, is it really on that much anymore? Like, it's kind of not.
They do a game of the week. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And the rest of it. And
Shaw
had,
a game
you
before
can,
time.
Yeah, actually, Shaw's done a pretty good job with some of their stuff. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on the market. Like here, every Mooseheads game is streamed by Eastlink, right?
Well, good. Yeah.
And the Remparts, we were talking about them off air in Quebec City. They've got pretty good coverage. It depends on the team. London Knights obviously would. There seems to be a little bit of money flowing through there, here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You mentioned the WNBA. Speaking of women's pro sports, what do you guys think of Brian Burke being named the executive director of the Women's Pro Players Union?
Well, I think if you can get a name, it's always good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's proven that he will. I don't really know Brian, but I don't think, and I mean, sure, I know people will be like, "Oh, he did a terrible job with the Penguins." Okay, settle down. Like, it's
small slice of the pie.
Yeah, I think he's the type of guy that will engage with that, and he's not just doing it as a bridge to the next job. I mean, it might wind up to be that, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll care, I think he, I'm not. I don't want to make it sound like I'm tying his son and with women's sports, but he's proven
inclusion.
He embraces inclusion, and he'll say, hey, like, he marches in pride parades and talks about his son's legacy and all that stuff. So I don't think he's gonna just do it as like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be the big shot that's just gonna do this it looks good on my resume. I think he'll care about it.
I kind of went, that makes a ton of sense. I just
Yeah.
was like, yeah, and good for them. I hope they get everything they want
Yeah. I mean,
and
they
deserve.
they need to do things like that. They need some names. They need some people behind it to, kick it off. They've gone through a number of iterations, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you hope that, this is the thing. I know, like, I think most of us who've watched hockey enjoy watching women's hockey. And I think it's just about finding the right markets for them and the right, management, and make sure everybody's got a fair deal, and they'll do fine. I don't know. I don't watch enough. I don't watch basketball in general, so I don't watch the WNBA or the NBA, but I think the WNBA is doing all right.
Well, it's been around a long time now.
Yeah.
No,
been
but it's
around.
directly it is the NBA, right? It's a
Affiliated.
arm
Yeah,
of
if you have the
affiliated with the NBA.
WNHL, that's a
Right.
whole other story.
That would be different, right? If you buy Oilers seasons tickets, and then for an extra so much you get the 20 home games from the Edmonton Chimos or whatever they'd be called, right? So
Yeah. But I do remember when the WNBA came to Canada, like they were, people were there to watch them, right? Like people came in droves to see them in Toronto, right? And meet the players, and the, young athletes knew who the players were. And, I think that's great. And if the, women's professional hockey league can get to that level, right, where they, people know players that just aren't on the national team,
right.
that'd be great. I think that'd be, it'd be really good. I think, they did this, well, Dash knows they had the hockey cards out, and they had the women in there, but it's all national team stuff. And so they need to find a way to promote it that's, accessible. And I think just like junior hockey, right? I mean, you find a fan base that needs to watch, right? That, maybe can't, I mean, the NHL will always be the NHL, but women's professional hockey needs to find its own niche and go after that. I think that's good. But getting somebody like Burke involved is pretty important.
I just noticed, like, is Jay the only person watching? He commented again. One comment. I've had inside sports shows like this where it's like we have 7 text messages, 5 from the same person, 1 for the previous show, and one guy who thought he was texting his wife about buying groceries on the way.
Yeah. One guy that was supposed to be texting 1260 and accidentally texted.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I would love how Dave Jameson would always read the actual accidental text. Hey, Bob, blah, 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 blah.
Well, or people cut and paste stuff, right? And just send it to all the different shows. Because I would get that in the evening sometimes too, where it's like,
right.
Hey, Bob. And then you click on the person's history. It's like, well, they sent Bob that text at 1:13. And either Bob didn't read it or they didn't like Bob's reply.
So you
so
see
they
the
sent me the
text.
same thing, but they didn't change Bob to read.
Let's see what
right?
Reid and Rob have
Yeah.
to say about it. It's funny.
Man.
Well, this is the Oilerslive show, so I don't know if you want to talk about the Oilers or not, but
Yeah, let's do a little Oilers talk.
I can talk about whatever you like, gentlemen.
Good segue. I mean, let's start with the news of the day. Sam Gagner, who we talked about 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty good inkling was going to be signing a PTO with the Oilers. Some so-and-so's Twitter handle tweeted that out 2 weeks ago, and we expected this, so here it is. Your thoughts on it so far? Like, what what do you think? Is Gagner is he what the team needs?
Well, experience-wise, yes. I think passion-wise, yes. I mean, I guess he still proved he had a pretty good. Was it just this last year? I think he helped the Jets power play for a while. I mean, he's an intelligent player. I think just the tempo of the game might be a challenge, and I mean, I cheer for small guys, but as I often say, physics is still physics. But I mean, if he's your 13th or 14th forward, I think he has a better chance than Sutter just because Sutter hasn't played for 2 years. And I heard him on with Mooner and Escott today. And I mean, it sounds like he went through quite an ordeal getting through the COVID fallout. It's really interesting with me with Gagne because I realize he is beloved. I also feel like, though, there are a lot of people now saying they love Sam Gagne who didn't love him so much the first time he was with the team. Quite frankly, because when I was Bob's producer for 2 years, Gagne was one of the main guys on the team, and the team wasn't very good, obviously. And he was like a good player on kind of a lousy team. And he often was like targeted, I thought, by listeners as a bad draft pick and too small and not good enough defensively and all that kind of stuff. So, and then as often happens, once a player leaves, he's never more popular than the day he left. Right. So, I remember Bob and I had a guy, I hope Bob doesn't mind me telling this. Maybe he's talked about it. We had a guy we actually referred to as the Gagne hater because he was like a serial emailer. Well, no, what happened was I made the mistake of thinking I could speak to him rationally through email. So he was like, Gagne, like, you basically just be Gagne sucks, too small, no good. He's, the reason the team is bad, and then he lumped in you and Bob are defending the team, and you guys are like one of these, like, we're the problem and all this stuff. And I'm, first year producing the show. So I emailed the guy and I was like, hey, thanks for your thoughts. And I tried to say, like, I think that if you listen to what Bob said, he offers a balanced take on Gagne. Like, he's not trying to sell him off as like the greatest player in the world. And, and I kind of thought I'll rationally talk to this guy. And then now he had my email, and that was the worst mistake I ever made. Because then it was daily, like, if Gagne turned the puck over the next morning, I got a 2-paragraph email about how terrible Gagne is, how little I know about hockey, how I shouldn't be working in the radio. Wow. And then he started going on this speech to tie this back to the Allen Cup. He started going on this because he was from Bentley or around Bentley, and he started saying how. Then he's telling me how the Bentley Generals he was telling me how the Bentley Generals could beat the Oilers, and I was like, dude, like I said, like, yes, the Oilers are a bad NHL team. Let's just establish that as a fact. I said, like, hopefully you're not being serious, and he insisted. No, he's like, Bentley. They work harder. They got more talent. The Oilers are lazy, overpaid, no skill, no teamwork. So it's like,
wasn't it Lars Eller with Montreal that said playing the Oilers is like playing a junior team?
He did say that, yeah. And then the Oilers won that game. Yes, I remember that. I was doing the.
I've never forgiven him for it.
Yeah, I think that was my first year actually doing this job because he says that, and then. The Oilers won in Montreal. They usually do okay in Montreal, except for this past season. But that was Lars Eller who said they're kind of. I think he kind of referred to like. I think Eller didn't mean their talent level, but just their disorganization.
Like how disorganized. Yeah, you're 100%. Yeah.
Well, he still said it.
Which he wasn't wrong.
These guys know full well what they're saying.
Sure, right? Yeah. But that's one of those things, like, why say it, right?
Yeah. I love how you brought all that full circle back to the Allen Cup. That's why you're a freaking pro.
It was a fluke.
I think it's just the way our brains work. I think Gagne kind of has to be evaluated on 2 levels now, doesn't he? If the rumors are going to be that he's going to be part of the organization moving forward, and even this year, if it's not going to be a trip down to the bake, and he's going to be around the dressing room, and and in practice and at this camp, and then I think like Sam Gagne off the ice, that's a guy that was born into this game. Like he's known this game since he was, it probably set on his cradle, like 3rd line center someday in the NHL. Like Dave's a grinder himself. It comes from scrappy and character. He's all character, I think, like he's He was came from a junior powerhouse. He was highly touted. He was a first round pick. He's had the pressure of the Oilers franchise on his back before. He's the original guy that scouted Connor McDavid. If you've ever heard that story,
Right.
he's the one that went back and told
He's
Jeff
the reason
Jackson.
we drafted him. Yeah.
Yeah, geez, you guys should go watch this kid. He's pretty flippin' phenomenal. He's Jeff Jackson's first client. He's friends with Connor and Leon. His wife's from here. He's got 1,000 career games. Like Reid said it, he's intelligent. The hockey IQ's there. Like, why don't we want a guy that's had experience on the power play and penalty kill and shootout and playing wing and center? And I don't know. Like, and I challenge you, Reid. You said, you think he's maybe had a better chance of making it than Sutter. I don't know if Gagne's here for the hockey or for the character.
You think this is a transition?
Yeah,
Like
I really do.
If he makes it, he's almost like a player coach or like,
player development,
like
I think, timestamp that. But like maybe that's the type of role I can see him in when your dad's an agent and, you've been around it your whole life.
But for this season, though, I think he still wants to be a player.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it's going to take, I think, a couple layers of injury. I could see both of them getting signed, though. I think Sutter and Gagne, Sutter really, we're not talking about something really all that different. Like it's another guy that's born into the game, right? Like you're not just getting Sam Gagne's 900 and whatever, or 1,015 games. You're getting that experience that he's brought through his whole life. You're getting the 2,000 games because his dad played 950. And with the Sutters, you're getting 6,000 games of experience. Like all of that passed down to these guys. And what have the Oilers been missing per se? Right?
Yeah,
it's
some savvy for sure. Yeah.
Or that
I
leadership.
just wonder if either guy would be willing to go to Baco if that's the offer, right?
Yeah.
And of course, if they're on PTOs, it could be the Versteeg situation where it's like, well, if you get an actual contract offer from another team, you just go.
That I could see that happening for Sutter, less so for Gagne, but
I heard that interview too, Reid, and Sutter sounds like he's in absolutely peak physical condition.
Oh, I'm sure he's recovered. I guess that's
always
just me being
been,
like 2 years without playing. But yeah, I mean, he's what is he, 34? Like he's not. That's not old.
No, it's not for sure. And he's got the size, and he's always been in good condition his entire life, as they said. And Sam Gagne's coming off a double hip surgery. There's
fair enough.
I'd like to see both of them got a real shot at making a bit of a. That's not terrible either, though. I think honestly, Playarvi was better after his hip surgery, right? So like maybe that's what's been holding Sam back for the last few years.
Was he?
When was it again? Yes, briefly he was.
He
had
25 games. 25 games.
Yeah,
because the season with no fans,
you were on a roll there, okay. Yeah, you were on a roll.
The season with no fans, Playarvi was actually okay.
I can't tie all this back to the Allen Cup. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Maybe that's Playarvi's next stop.
If it's ever in Finland. Yeah.
He does love, he likes Elk Island. Maybe he'll move to Lloyd. It's halfway there.
That's right.
Mark my words, Gagne's on the team, though, come opening day, whether he plays or not. He'll be part of the team in a shore type of role. And I doubt very much he may play one or two games in Baco, but I doubt it. I doubt he plays many. He'll be sitting with the team, be around the team, be around the dressing room. And then, as I suggested before, he'll probably find something with the team, going past this year.
Yeah, right? I would think after this year, there's probably something else for him.
Wow. Especially when you're buddies with Leo and Dave and you're trying to get extensions.
Yeah. Gagne is good for so many reasons, though, too, for this team. Like, he's good because, look, fans, there are the fans that hate him, right? Like those guys, there's that group, the Gagne haters, but there's the Nurse haters. And you can find guys, believe it or not, on the Twitter machine there that hate Connor McDavid. Think he's a plug.
Yeah.
A Calgary Flames avatar, but.
Oh yeah. I mean, anyway, I don't. Whatever the case, Gagne's nothing but good for this team, and size wise, physics plays into it, but I bet you he'd take on the biggest guy on the other team.
He has no, and that's why Brownie likes him, because he said he even Gagne's first tenure, he said like if there was a bad game or a low energy game, he was the one guy that would be like, okay, I'm going to hit somebody. I'll try to start a fight.
Oh,
whatever.
for sure. Michael, you remember we were watching that Red Wings game, and what did he give Evander Kane one in the side, and then Kane turned around and gave him a death glare, and it stopped there.
Right.
Sam saw heaven, but he, for sure, he's not scared to muck it up whatsoever. Absolutely not.
We need another 8-point performance though before I.
Hey,
Yeah, what a night that was.
he's done it all. Sammy's done it all.
He has.
What do you guys think of this narrative that ties it all back to the old boys club? Because I'm actually a little tired of it. Like if we're calling the old boys club the 80s Oilers that won these cups and so on and so forth, like I don't think it's fair to Staios and Gagne and guys like that might get involved in the organization now that are closer to that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
call it the new boys club if
Yeah.
you will, but it's just guys with character.
I guess Coffee being around more, like his role might be kind of a little exactly what is it, but yeah, I mean it's really interesting guys covering shitty teams, because when a team is really, really shitty, like things are wrong. And certainly, the Elks have been this way the last little while. Hopefully things are starting to change. But
2-0, baby.
Here's the thing, like when a team loses or is performing poorly, things are wrong, but it doesn't mean everything is wrong. Right? So yes, like, and Rob and I used to joke about taking shots whenever anybody said old boys club. Now, there was some legitimacy to it back in the day. Kalo was actually a pretty good general manager overall, but was he around too long? Some stuff like that, like other guys were around the team.
I get closer to the cup than anybody else has.
Right. But like hiring Steve Staios is not old boys club. It's hiring a guy who's become a hockey manager and has done a good job, and who happens to think the Oilers would be a neat team to work for. Right. I mean, go through, if you went to like the detailed list of any team's front office, that doesn't just list the general manager and the assistant GMs, like lists all the scouts, you'll find a lot of ex-players, and often you'll find guys who played for that team or who at some point in their career and then wanted to live in that city or live somewhere where they could scout conveniently. So I have, like, I'll give you an example.
Loyalty to that crest,
but an example of how, and I understand fans get angry. I don't begrudge that. I mean, it is frustrating when teams are bad for extended periods of time, like the Oilers were, or who can't score points twice in a season, like the Elks this season. But so the year, I believe it was the year Hitch took over, and remember they were good for about 15 games, and then it was just terrible the last half of the season. So Peter Watts passed away, who you guys probably remember, was longtime broadcaster, did CFL on TSN, and then he was doing a talk show at our station in Calgary. So he passes away. So, his second half of the season, Oilers are doing bad. They have another stinky performance at home. And this guy calls in after the game. And he's just like, well, I want to bring up something else and proof of what a terrible organization this is. Okay. And then he says, and Reid, you're probably going to be equally as offended as I am. And I'm thinking, like,
boy,
what is this guy possibly bringing up that he's lumping me into? And he says, he goes, Peter Watts passed away, a longtime broadcaster in this province, really well respected. The Oilers do nothing to honor this guy. And I think Brownie was irritated because he jumped right in. He's like, yes, they did. And the guy's like, no, they didn't. And it's funny because Rob actually just handled it. I think he just was like, I'm not going to bother Reid with this guy. But and Rob goes, well, were you at the game? And the guy's like, no. And Rob says they put Peter Watts on the scoreboard in memorandum and read a nice little thing to about Peter's life and career. No, they didn't. Rob's like, we saw it on the scoreboard, sir. Well, I watched the game on TV and it wasn't on there. No, because it was on during a commercial break, and that's Sportsnet. The Oilers put it up. They put it up for the people. So, again, when a team's doing bad, things are wrong. But I find some fans they look for, they look for things to be wrong. Well, what else can I criticize? Oh, this, right? So anyway,
I'm sure their lives in between their four walls aren't much different.
Nobody has a question for me, Mike.
Oh
Nobody's.
no, I'm sure.
Let's get this chat hopping. Do you have a question for Reid?
Somebody asked what's more likely to happen this upcoming season: a Campbell bounce back or a Skinner sophomore dip?
That's a little sad. Like that's like when you're in grade 10 and you go up to the girl that you like. If I asked you out, would you say yes? No, I wouldn't. Okay. Hey, I heard Sandra shot you down. No, I never actually asked her out. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Next time we have you in, we're gonna dive into this whole Chandra thing.
Lay back on the couch.
We're gonna get Reid to cry on air.
Well, actually, that's just a name I picked randomly. But anyway,
I think the place where Chandra hurt you.
Yeah, that's right. I think Campbell will bounce back because I think he's. I think he was already showing signs of bouncing back. Probably the one thing I would sort of criticize Woody for this past season was that he didn't start him in the playoffs. Like I think he should have started at some point. So I think honestly, if I'll make a wild prediction, I think Campbell will play more games than Skinner.
It's funny how that's the wild prediction now after, right? Like,
and I still think
into last year.
Yeah, I still think Skinner is going to be good, but I think Campbell will bounce back. I mean, he's too good an athlete.
Yeah.
I think Holland has showed a lot of faith in him. I don't think anybody in the organization is down on him. And I mean, to be blunt too, it's going to be hard for him to be worse than he was. I mean,
right.
Stoff and I were given the we do the save percentage rankings of all the goalies who qualified, and he'd be 51 out of 53rd or 47th out of 52nd. So I think he should have started a game. Like I would have started him against LA in game 5
6,
after he won the overtime game, but he probably should have got a start against. I mean, if he starts game 5 against Vegas, and you lose, well, you're still coming home with Nurse back from suspension in game 6. So, but
I guess the fear is he blows it and then you got two goalies with shaken confidence too, and I don't know. There's a whole debate there, I'm sure, but I do see that split going closer to 50-50 this year.
Oh, I think so,
probably
for sure.
Equaling out on games for sure,
yeah.
I think, Campbell had a new city, a new team, and new teammates. He switched pads halfway through the year.
Well, the knock on him has been the mental side. So he never really kind of got on an upward trajectory all season.
I say you'll know early.
Started on a
it's
bad
going to be 50-50 or not, and that'll be if Campbell comes out and has a few bad games, then Woodcroft's likely to lose some confidence early. It's hard to it's one of those things where if a goalie comes in and you've played him and doesn't perform well, and then you keep playing them, and then later on you keep second guessing yourself. And I don't think Woody's going to do that this year, right? Like if Campbell comes out and he's playing well early on, then we'll see
trust comes back.
Yeah, we'll see lots of them. And the question is, to Reid's point, is mentally how is he doing, right? Is he has the off season been long enough? There really hasn't been a lot of talk about him in the off season, right?
Yeah.
Is that good? I mean, maybe he's
it's probably
away from everything, and he's got some some chance, and it helps that he's had a season where Skinner actually came in and took a little bit of pressure off of him, right? Like maybe he goes into the new season thinking, I don't need to take this team all the way. I've got, a good backup and I can do it 50-50. Who knows? But it is mental. Guys are asking about Broberg. You think Broberg?
Yeah, like Broberg
for taking a.
I think so. Well, I mean, he was. How many games did he get up to last season? But you guys are bad for remembering stats. But I mean, I kind of considered him almost a full timer last year, right? I mean, when they went with
seventh defenseman a few times,
with
right?
7D, he was one of the 7. So I think he can play on the right side if they need him to be. I mean, see how things go for Desharnais. So yeah, I think I think definitely. I mean, if he doesn't, then I would think, well, a lot of people like
46
Broberg.
games played last year.
Okay, I thought he got into a few more, but still, that's not bad. I know. I think they'll leave Echo. Oh, sorry, I'm reading messages as if I would read stuff on my show. Sorry, I have to defer to the,
No, all
have to
good.
defer to the hosts.
Hey, you take over. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Just saying.
You
Let me
think we
throw
have
myself
experience
on
doing
mute
this shit?
here, Reid.
Come on.
That's fine. I'll put myself on mute. We're good.
Me
We're
too.
good.
How about her?
You know, the most popular the show's ever been, and
Reid's the host.
Oh,
You looking for another gig, Reid?
yeah.
Well, maybe. Who knows? You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, there's always a spot here for
What
you.
what were you going to read there before you?
Do you try Broberg on left defense,
left.
Ekholm on right defense? No, I would leave Ekholm on left defense with Bouchard. That was a very good pairing. So I would not mess with that pairing.
Look at that little spur of the
Of the
host
messages,
there
eh?
says, "Let's get the chat hopping," and Chandra finally says yes. we are dancing with Chandra tonight, guys.
Going to the sock hop.
We're going
Two-stepping. Let's go.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
that's funny.
All right. All right.
Black Mazzacari, and he's also one of the huge fans of our guitar intro read. So that's
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I
In
wouldn't
fact,
mind getting
it's the
that on
reason we
CD.
Brought it back.
yeah, he is the reason we brought it back. We're gonna take it off. And he rioted,
He rioted.
banging on my windows.
that.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
You know, we've been lucky, I'd say, at Oilers Live. We don't have, and you get it. I mean, you're the, you home of the Oilers, so to speak. 6:30 Ched. You're doing a post game show, so you get it, inundated with it. Like whether it's the nurse haters or the guys that hated Gagne or whatever. But we've been lucky. Most of our fan base don't have a target that they've kind of gone on. I like if you look at this upcoming season, who's going to be the target? Who's going to be the biggest target for the Oilers this year?
From angry fans?
Yeah.
Oh, I think unfortunately Nurse is still going to get
Nurse for sure.
Yeah, I just think some people will just
never
watch
get
the
over that,
games
right?
to record his mistakes.
Yeah.
Which
100%.
Stoff had a great line. He's like, the people who hate Nurse act like he's being paid with their money. So like I'd make $10,000 more a year, but they gave it to Darnell Nurse. It's
where'd my Christmas turkey go? Oh, Darnell Nurse got it.
Yeah.
I think that I think that's one for whatever reason. I mean, unless he wins the Norris Trophy or something, people
got
won't.
seventh
I mean, look,
voting, man, like seventh. That's pretty damn good. Like all he does is play the top.
He plays a ton.
In the Western Conference all the day.
How many even strength points did he have last season? Like he was in the 40s, wasn't it?
That's all he ever gets.
I mean, it's almost.
5-on-5
I don't know what. I guess the thing I struggle with, and you know what, you can make an argument that he's overpaid. For sure, you can.
Sure.
But that's more of a Holland criticism than a Nurse criticism. And you guys talk to people. I talk to people. I talk to scouts who come through. Everybody said the first number in that deal was going to be an 8. He's getting probably 8.5. So we got 9.25. So okay. So I don't know. Like I guess sometimes I feel, and maybe I'll ask people more this, like, what's the standard for Nurse that you won't be upset? If it's perfection, like if it's perfection, then I guess I'll give you permission to be unhappy all the time. If it's like it's Justin Verlander gives up home runs, things.
He was getting $8 million until McAvoy and Werenski and Seth Jones and Heiskanen.
Yeah, the Jones one, I think, tapped thing off. Yeah, I see somebody just wrote in CC. Yeah, maybe because CC didn't have a great year. He was also injured the entire year or most of the year.
Well, and what was ever expected from CC, right? Like, was it to be a top line D guy?
No,
I don't think so. And so that's the thing people leave out too. And
way better than
CC. But you look at Like, how many top line D guys like Nurse are playing with a guy like CC,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they're
And-
often playing with
you
another
know,
guy as good as they are.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Seabrook had Keith,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Like,
Like,
And I think
Absolutely.
CC's a decent player for sure. But yeah, you make
Oh,
a,
yeah.
you make a good point. It's the top pairing because of Nurse, not because of the other
That's
guy,
right.
exactly.
right? So yeah, I mean,
And nobody ever texted into your show, Reed, the 3 years before Nurse extended and said, "Man, that Darnell Nurse is playing $3 million under his value."
yeah, I know, yeah. Well,
Right?
and then nobody,
average those 6 years out. Like,
yeah. And then when he has a good game with 28 minutes and +2 and an assist and 6 hits and 4 block shots,
yeah,
nobody says, well, okay, you know what, he actually played well tonight.
yeah,
But
and
yeah,
made 3 guys pee their pants in the corner because he intimidated the piss out of them. Like,
yeah.
there's so much
It'll
more to the
change.
game.
I think a lot of that'll change this year. I hope.
Led
Well,
in the dressing
Ekholm,
room, leader
right?
in their,
Ekholm's there.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to
Yeah.
be great having Ekholm the whole year. I mean, we talked about the goaltending. The power play is going to be deadly again. I mean, look, to me, they're absolutely a cup contender. And then if they can actually get there, then that changes everything, right? Because like our second caller after the season ended on Overtime Open Line after the final game said, well, I guess that settles it. Connor McDavid, puck hog, point only cares about his personal points. And I cut the guy off. But those people are always going to say, where's the cup? If he's that
403
good,
area code.
if he's good. Yeah, actually, I don't know what it was. It was well, I never see the callers anymore because we're either in Studio 99 or a different studio at Ched now. But
Well, it was a 403 area code.
yeah, probably was. But there are sometimes Oilers fans though who like to eat their own a little bit. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, until I mean, again, the cup changes everything. I think about well, I don't know if you guys like football, but Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. What's the thing people say? Oh, this yards, never won a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know if it was all his fault, but no, he didn't.
Mhm.
Think if Manning didn't get the one with the Broncos near the end,
Right.
only one. Brady's got 40. Brady won every Super Bowl. So, like,
42. Yeah.
yeah, 40's got. But once these guys, if they win, then once you're in that category, then it silences the critics a little bit, and not that you'd be immune to criticism or you accept the drop in performance or whatever, but then and then you're in that category, right? And then I mean, it's weird for me because I still see it, when people when it's getting into March and April or, even February and people start like, I still see some years people talking about the Penguins as a cup contender. And some years they have been, and some years I've been like, you're only saying that because they've won in the past. This isn't a caliber team, right? But that's how it goes. Once you've won, then some people will always say, well, you never know. They might turn it on and they might figure it out. They might be able to go through some teams just because of the experience in the past.
Oh, well, they're already, and I'm stuck here in the East. There's already some of the Eastern NHL media talking about how the Penguins power play is going to be the best power play in the league this upcoming season.
I don't see how yeah. I don't see that. It's
no, okay.
I talked about the Oilers power play on my show tonight, and I said this is not exaggeration and it's not hometown bias. The Oilers have one of the best power plays ever, if not the best.
The best.
Mm-hmm.
The best.
I'm not saying this about the power play that was third in the lockout year. That are like, oh, they're one of the best ever. No, like this one the last 4 years legitimately is.
Their power play is becoming a dynasty.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's a power play dynasty. Yeah.
Well, I said it last show. I mean, when the Oilers go on the power play, when do you not expect a goal? I mean, it just
well, that's a good point. I mean, obviously they weren't 50%, but you expect a goal more often than not. I mean, you think, well, they're going to score, like, or it's going to be really dangerous. Yeah,
absolutely. So, all right, we're over the hour mark.
Now what happens?
We didn't. Well, now the world explodes. My boss. Wait till my boss gets on. He's like,
I'm right here.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
right
who is
there,
the
yeah.
boss? I don't even understand.
There goes my
Dash,
bonus.
you weren't on the last time. I was.
Yeah, no, I missed you last time. I think I was still the associate host at the time, but I
Okay.
don't know. Yeah,
Oh, man.
great job filling my shoes, though. Reid. I
David will
thought you
win the
did great.
Richard again, Grampy. I'm reading the messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you had me on the pissy day, and again, that was pre.
Yeah, that was the day. That's
and
right.
I think
yeah.
did you not have me on the day Tippett was fired? Which we didn't know. I think I'd pre-committed to that,
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
which was interesting. Two kind of newsy
Jeez.
days. So today was just a regular day when I could have been enjoying the neighborhood, having a pint.
With all due
Never a
respect to
regular
Sam
day.
Gagne,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes,
Never a regular day.
but it's
Chandra's
okay.
waiting for you at the bar right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, finally gonna get that drink with her. Yeah.
Finally. She knows. Now she knows.
Now she knows what
You
she's
were-
been missing for 32 years or however long it's been since I was in high school.
Oh, Reid, it's been great
Pleasure.
having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Here's how we always end these, by the way. So I'll say a couple words. I'll pass it off to Dash. And then Reid, we give it to you to get the last word. You get to say whatever the hell you want.
Really?
And then you shut it down with a good
With
night. In
Michael
fact,
and I on mute.
I put myself on mute even.
Me too.
Are you
know,
going to
and-
give me a
and-
topic? Like, is it like a word association thing?
No, you can do whatever you
Top
want.
of your head, buddy.
Jeez, if you want to talk about your favorite book from book club, go for it.
The dream you had last
now
night.
I feel
whatever.
pressure. Wow.
Yeah. Well, this is why we don't let anybody prepare for it, though, because I'm pretty sure we'd go over every single. Well, let me get this script out here. I've prepared a presentation.
I'm actually going to say something really, really sappy and serious. I know what I'm going to
Nice.
say.
Jeff
Well, I
Walker
appreciate
from
that.
1260 told us about all the Easter candies he had in his freezer. So really, this could go anywhere. We had a guy.
Could go.
Remember the
That's
guy
funny.
that told us that you
He's
should
coming to work
abolish
for
the
us.
draft?
Is
Yeah,
he?
he is. Yeah, Jeff is.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he just
hadn't heard
announced
that
last
yet.
week. Yeah.
I really enjoyed Jeff on the show. In fact, that was the first time I'd ever talked to him. And we had all the producers from 1260 on at one point, and that was a fun show.
Nice.
Guys
Yeah,
that
Jeff's a good guy, funny guy.
stepped up and maybe don't get a big voice like they should because they're knowledgeable guys doing lots of different things. That's good to hear. He seemed like a really nice guy. So thanks for joining us. Those of you that tuned in, thank you. Good crowd tonight on all the different platforms. Make sure you head over to heavyhockey.com. Check out the Oilers Twitter dog bracket. Is the most exciting thing happening there right now. We're down to the final four. We've got Izzy versus Otis and Koopa versus Bonnie. And there's already like 2,000 votes for Koopa. And the other one is this. So Reid, you're gonna have to check this out because Koopa and Bonnie are in like a neck and neck race. There's like 2,000 votes for one and 1,800 for the other. And then in the other semifinal, Otis and Izzy, there's like 600 votes and 400 votes.
Nice.
So
boy,
that one's heating up. That one's heating up, and they're going into the final for each of those. My money is on Koopa right now for the overall win. And then also check out, we've had a couple of new articles on there. A guy like Ryan Lotsberg is doing a 3-part series on why McDavid isn't going anywhere. And Reid,
He isn't.
no, he's not. And Lotzi is we call him the Oracle, the heavy hockey Oracle. He is. I'll sing his praises again. I sang them last episode too. He's kind of right, like predicted a few things. Dash, like he predicted Tyler Wright being let go as soon as the Jackson thing.
He was the only one that said anything about Brandon Dubinsky before it happened.
Yeah.
He kept calling a bunch of odd like line combinations. He'd write an article about some
It's like
analytics and say,
Woodcroft was reading his
if
stuff.
Cassian would play on the top line, then we could do. Then all of a sudden, Cassian's on the top line. We're like, what the actual hell is happening?
That's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah. So, of course, Oilers sign Gagne to the PTO is on there. A little bit of talk there. And then, you should read, if you haven't yet, read Lotsberg's 3-part series again. The guy's getting crazy. He's starting to write novels, but he wrote on Jackson's impact for the Oilers. So check all those out at heavyhockey.com. Reminder that the charity hockey game is coming up in February, right after the Battle of Alberta, February 25th, 24th. Thank you. It'll be played at the Oilers Community Rink. We'll get, or the Downtown Community Rink, sorry. And that'll be the day after the Battle of Alberta. So I'll be out there to watch that. That was good. Last year, we raised $25,000 for the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Hope to beat that this year. So put that in your calendars. I don't have anything else other than to say thank you to everybody. I'll pass it off to, I've got to figure out now whether the associate host gets paid more or the assistant host. So right now we'll just say my friend Dash. I'll pass it off to my friend Dash to say a couple words before and then I'll talk to legal while you're talking, and we'll see what goes from there. And then we'll give it to you, Reid. But thanks again for joining us tonight.
Just keep EHR out of it. Legal's just fine. I'm okay with that. Reid, on behalf of Oilers Live podcast, I apologize for the 2 minutes of your life you'll not get back listening to the dog bracket. So I apologize there. On another note, you know what? Little pat on the back for us, because we spent 2 of the last 3 weeks in the top 30 in Canada for sports podcasts, and we're pretty damn proud of that around here. So you can call us a so-and-so podcast or one of those other guys, but we're growing and we're making rounds. Personally, I'm doing some color commentary for Love Pro Wrestling. I've been really enjoying that. So if you have a chance, come out and see one of those shows. They got one in Sherwood Park in my hometown. It'll be Face Off 2 right at the Randy Rosen Rink where the Crusaders play, and September 16th and Saturday 5:00. And I'll be doing some guest commentary there again. So make your way out and chant some silly things. I'd love it. And other than that, just thanks for tuning in, subscribe, all those things. And over to Reid for some sappy last words. Just say goodnight at the end, Reid. Don't forget. It's awkward otherwise.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I still am often surprised when someone wants me on their podcast, but I always enjoy doing them. So thank you for welcoming me onto the show. I just really want people to know I love being a talk show host, and it's the greatest job I think I could ever have. And I guess to do a bit of a plug, I still do have a talk show. Its time is changing a little bit, but there has been some assumptions or just misunderstanding with the changes at Ched. Oilers Now is going to be 5 to 7, and Inside Sports is going to be 7 to 8. So it's still there, and I'm still there, and I'm still doing Oilers broadcasts, and I'll be doing some stuff on Chelsea on Ched in the afternoon as well. So if you like Inside Sports, you're still, or if you hate Inside Sports, you're still stuck with me. But I really appreciate that people tuned in. You guys are great. Thank you for asking me, and have a good night.